Hey, listeners, thanks for tuning into the podcast. I just want to take a moment to mention the podcast sponsor, retrogamestore.com.au. Head over there for all your Game Boy refurbish and repair needs. Screens, shells, buttons, and all the bits and pieces. And there's a complete custom build made to order service as well. Also, plenty more retro gaming goodness like video cables, display stand and power supplies, controllers, etc. And you can add the code PixelPie at checkout to get 10% off your order. Also, take a moment to say if you enjoyed this episode and haven't already, give it a subscribe or follow and a review where you can. And maybe you want to recommend the Pixel Pie podcast to anyone you know that would enjoy it. That'd be really appreciated. So thanks for listening, and now let's get on with the show.
Hey guys, I'm Anthony Wallace from Naramakesgames, and you're listening to the Pixel Pie podcast.
Hey, Anthony. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing great, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for joining me on the podcast this episode. It's really fantastic to finally sort of get hold of you. You've got a bit of a unique
very happy to be here.
You've got a unique thing going on with the game that you're working on, and I really want to hear about that. So but before we go there, let's get to know a little bit just about you and sort of retro gaming and I guess Game Boys and stuff, but sometimes it comes from the strangest places. Tell us about your story, mate.
Well, basically, to know how I got to here where I'm making this game, we got to go back to when I used to live in the United States.
Where were you originally from?
So I was actually born and raised in California.
Yep.
And then I moved to Colorado, and I lived there for about 3 years. And life in the United States just wasn't necessarily for me. And it never felt fulfilling.
Yeah.
And at one point, a friend had asked me if I wanted to go to Australia to consider living there.
It's a nice place, I think.
And that's what I hear. And so they actually had plans to attempt to make a permanent move to Australia.
When was this roughly?
And what was that?
Roughly, how long ago was this when you said this all started happening to you?
So this was about 3.5 years ago.
Right.
And so they said, do you want to come with us and consider moving to Australia? And I said, well, let me think about it. And so I took a couple days and I thought, moving permanently to another place is not necessarily what I want in my life. I think what sounds better for me is to start thinking about alternative lifestyles. And so I started looking into what it would be to become a nomad, because I'd always heard about this and it always seemed like some fantasy thing that could never happen. And so after doing the research, I found, wow, this is actually very doable. And it's actually way more affordable to travel the world than to just stay in one place. And with my real life work being website design and graphic design, I could work from anywhere.
Right.
So I started looking into it, and I decided that's what I wanted to do with my life. And one of the biggest things with that is you just have to be comfortable leaving where you've lived your whole life and getting rid of everything that you own and living out of a suitcase. And I was happy to make that decision, and it was the best thing I've ever done in my life.
Outstanding.
So the first place that I went was Chiang Mai, Thailand.
Sorry, say that again?
The very first place that I went as a nomad was Chiang Mai, Thailand.
Right. Did you just did you throw a dart at a board or a map, or did you sort of ease into it? We don't all go out and row across the ocean. We kind of row across a lake first, as far as nomad. You could just bug it off into the mountains of Tibet, but you obviously chose Thailand for a reason.
I had heard about Chiang Mai, Thailand, and heard that it was a cool place. And once I decided that I was going to travel a lot, I started researching a lot of places. And sort of looking into the places that other nomads who have done it before have gone. And
Wow.
once you sort of get into that nomad community, there's a handful of places that a lot of people go.
Is there a special
And
handshake, like when you meet someone?
no, no, but once you guys start talking, there's definitely a lot in common with the way that you live, and oh, have you been here? And oh, you got to check this place out, and you'll like this. And
So when you say nomad, you still have, obviously you're making your own money, so you're not kind of cruising around trying to get free feeds from churches and stuff. You're actually living, you're making money, but you're self-sustainable without having a permanent address.
yeah.
Yes, all power to you, man. I think a lot of people, especially in the last 18 months, would just love to just drop it. My wife works for a big company, and they've had several senior management just go, well, I'm leaving. We just bought a camper van, like a Winnebago type thing. And we're just taking the kids around Australia for a year. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people right now are pretty envious of your lifestyle. You may be a little hampered, but yeah.
So I had started that in 2018. And so, hit a lot of different countries in Asia, went to Australia, went back to the States once, but spent a lot of time in Thailand, a lot of time in Japan. And in January of 2020, I went to China. I was invited to be a resident artist at a place called the Dolly Art Factory. And I was going to be doing some photography in China. It was the Chinese New Year. There was going to be a lot of really cool festivals going on.
Yeah.
And so we had a lot of cool plans. We were going to be traveling into these really cool old towns and just taking photos of all these festivals. And I was hoping to make what was going to be my best photography I'd ever done. And then about a week after I arrived, I got a message from my friend saying, hey, there's a new virus in China. You should watch out. And I was like, well, whatever. You hear stuff like that all the time. And people always kind of give you their little tips about Asia because they think they understand. But sure enough, about a week after that, China was completely closed down, and it got rough. So,
so were you there by then?
So I was in China when Corona came.
Wow. Bitchin'.
Yeah. So I booked a flight out of there. I was able to get out the last day of January. I left China and I flew to Osaka, Japan. And so getting to Japan, was a big relief. And we thought, well, the Chinese thing will blow soon and life will still be the same. But of course, as we all know, life wasn't the same. And the entire world started to shut down. And so basically wherever you were in February or March is kind of where you were going to be for a while.
Yeah. We were really lucky. We were actually in Thailand, in Koh Samui. Like, my wife's birthday is the first week of March, and we'd spent a few days in Singapore and then Koh Samui. And it was like 7th, 8th of March. We were due to come home the 10th, the 11th. And Australia was sort of going, then we're going to shut the borders. And we're like, oh, we got a 9-year-old daughter, when you're on your own, you're grown adults, you kind of like, things are cool. But when you got to go a tribe, you start thinking about other possible actions. But we were lucky, much like yourself, to just be out of there.
Yeah, to be somewhere safe. Because Japan, in terms of coronavirus, almost no effect. The entire time I was there was one sort of soft shutdown for about a month where basically places just elected to close themselves for about 30 days. But no requirements, no real hard rules about you got to stay home or you got to do this. So
Japan's got such a culture of looking after the community, though. They're really like, this is the right thing to do. So it doesn't take much to convince them to just be sensible.
Yeah. And so, I was basically stuck in Japan. Well, that must be when you're there because you want to be, it feels a lot different than when you're there because you can't go anywhere else.
Sure. Yeah.
So I spent my time between Osaka, Kyoto, and Nara. And Nara is the town where there's free roaming deer everywhere you look.
And
I had been there a couple times in the past. And once I kind of felt like, all right, I'm going to be in Japan for a while, I kind of decided that's where I wanted to be because I'm an animal lover. I love animals. You've probably seen on my Instagram all the street dogs that I post on a regular basis.
Yeah, definitely. And even stuff like there's lots of Game Boys, but there's so many photos of a Game Boy with a kitten, and that sort of stuff. So, and I guess being a nomad, it's funny looking at your Instagram because there is that sort of really opposite. Like, no, the Game Boy is not high tech. It ain't no switch, it ain't no rocket ship, but it's still technology, and it's still got almost a pivotal turning point in where the world kind of went, this is pretty amazing. And then you've got these pictures of street dogs, and you're getting yourself, you get your foot in each boat. Just, I love this stuff, but I can just sit with an animal and just appreciate this animal's got its own thing going on. That's how I see it when I look at your pictures.
Yeah, well, what that really comes from is just trying to surround yourself with things that make you happy. And animals make me happy. And that's why I decided to stay in Nara so long, is because just waking up in the day and going to get lunch and then seeing 1,000 deer, that's something that can make me very happy. So
blessed at that point.
Yeah. And during a time where everything was weird and everything was crazy, and I was feeling kind of depressed because I was kind of stuck and I was alone, and I needed something to make me feel happy, and deer made me happy. And then, eventually video games made me happy. And
so that's kind of, sorry to interrupt.
So that's kind of how I got to the Game Boy thing. Is you would ask, how did we get here? Well, living in Japan and being alone, I would just go into the local video game stores and look around, and there was a wall of Game Boys at this store in Osaka. And I just remember going in there one day and thinking, I should buy a Game Boy again, because I had one as a kid.
Yeah.
And, I always remember playing Kirby or playing Pokemon Blue. And I hadn't really touched the Game Boy in probably 15 years.
Yep.
I had a Game Boy Advance from when I was a teenager, but I never played it. And I actually left it in California when I had moved. And so, I would keep going back and keep looking at them. And I also kind of thought, well, I knew that there was retro gaming handhelds that had come out in the years. And I used to watch a lot of Retro Dodo videos.
Yeah.
And, he's the king of retro handhelds.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of going back and forth between the retro handhelds and the original stuff. And being in Japan, I had all those Game Boys right in front of me. And it actually wasn't until 2 weeks before I left Japan that I bought a Game Boy. So I was there for 11 months without one. But
what did you get? What was the one you picked up?
So I bought a Game Boy Color. I bought a clear Game Boy Color. It had black buttons and a black screen, but I eventually changed it out for the white buttons and the white silicone. And I kept the original screen, and I kind of treasure this one because this was the first that kind of got me started again.
Yeah, sure.
Into the scene. But I just got back into video games. I was playing my Switch a lot too. I was playing Breath of the Wild a lot. And I was just like, man. So one thing, when I graduated high school and I was researching college and what I wanted to do with my life, I actually wanted to make video games. And I went to the Art Institute in California to sign up for their video game program.
Yeah.
And they talked me into doing web design. They said, well, you're already doing web design and you've done a few classes in high school. Maybe you should pursue that. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's fine. Maybe I'll just do that instead. And so I was one decision away from making video games right out of high school.
It was sort of inevitable, I guess. You were going to find it somehow, somewhere.
Yeah, so it was just something that I always had wanted to do and I never did. And once I started getting back into games, I was like, I should look into that again and see what it would take to make a game. And then, of course, now that I had this newfound love for Game Boys again, I was like, I wonder if I can make a game on Game Boy. And so I just started doing the research, and I found, oh, I actually can. And once I started playing around with the actual programming of C, which is the language that you use for Game Boy, it's almost exactly the same as what I do in websites. So
yeah, right. So
I found that from day one, I was already kind of an expert level programmer for the Game Boy. So,
oh, okay. Is it something that you think that anybody? I mean, it's very hard to say. It's like, could someone run a mile? Well, can they walk a mile? That's start sort of thing. But would you say it's something that most people that can, I don't know, use it? Like, is it totally code based, or is there kind of like browser app type situations that compile it? I've watched my 9-year-old daughter do this kind of coding. She's only in grade 4, but a lot of it's module based. And are you similar? You're writing a module, and they're kind of different loops, and then you kind of bring it all back together into bigger loops, and it's like ifs and buts and stuff, or is it literally just tappa 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 tappa, and you're just coding? How does that sort of go for the uneducated in this sort of stuff?
it kind of depends on the level of game you're trying to make. I don't necessarily think that my future is going to be just only making Game Boy games. I eventually want to move on to using Unity and making more modern games. So I'm not really teaching myself how to make games from scratch, just 100% code and all that. And there's people that are purists who want to do something like that. For me, I found the application called GB Studio.
Right.
And that is a visual editor that allows you to make a game in a really simple way.
Yeah.
If you have no coding experience at all, you can still make a game. But
this is not to take away from your skill. I mean, a simple paintbrush and a pot of paint, given to anybody can be a good result, or I guess it looks like a house. So this is not to take away from, your final result and goals at all.
Yeah. And I think it's just a matter of, it's a tool that's available, so why not use it? The cool thing about GB Studio is that you have the option of actually editing your source code. So you're not only using what the application can do, you can actually go in and edit code. And so as a programmer who's worked on websites for over 20 years, I found that I was an expert level user from the beginning, and I can go in and do a lot of things that I don't think most people are able to do. And so actually from day one, I started writing codes and putting them out there on the internet for people to grab, because I could see that other people were asking for things. Yeah, cool. And I was able to do it in 1 hour. And I'm like, man, if everyone's asking and saying they don't know how to do it, and I can do it in 30 minutes or an hour, I should just put it out there for free and see if people want it. And so, I put out a couple little things on my itch.io account where you can do just little simple things that people had been asking for. And so, yeah, like you were saying, it's just a tool. It's just a matter of your level of expertise on how to use it. And so.
So did you start with like all right, just to get the hang of it, I'm going to make, a little square blob that I can just move around the screen. And if I press the button, it flashes different color. Did you sort of start with something small? Or did you like, this is it? I'm doing a full blown adventure about wild dog packs taking out the president or something, and I'm just going straight for that. Like, how did you get there? As far as I know, that's not the plot of your game, but like you might have just gone straight for the main plot.
Yeah, well, I did imagine that I was going to have to do some stuff like that. I'm going to have to make the little box jumping from platform to platform first. But once I got in there, I was like, I could do that in 1 hour right now from day one. So I actually did make a quick little test game the first day, and I was able to make a game where I could walk around and make a whole little scene. I modeled a scene after a temple here in Thailand.
Oh, wow. You got so much cool inspiration.
Yeah. And so I had a little monk walking around, and there was a couple street dogs there, and you could hang out and talk to them and stuff. And so, yeah, it basically, the game that I'm working on now is my second game I've ever made.
Oh, really? You've got one before?
Yeah, just a quick little one. It's a little 1 minute experience, but.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll get some details off you. Let me just jot that down. And we might like for those of us that've got flashcards, we could have a squiz at it. Did you?
It's actually not available. It's nothing to talk about really. But
come on, it's a teaser.
Yeah,
you need to make it available for us. This is all
yeah.
part
Maybe
of the journey.
I'll have to polish it off and put it available someday.
No. As is, you said it was great. Come on. Just before we sort of get in the detail of the game, is it going to be a game that'll come out on a physical cartridge?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, wicked. I love this. I've said it. Anybody that listened to more than 2 episodes know that I didn't have any of this stuff growing up. There's zero nostalgia for me, apart from the fact that I was there in the timeline, but I had nothing to do with any of this. But then I love the art of, Mega Drives and SNESes and Game Boys. And I love it when I see something that's been made in the last 2 or 3 years, but really gives ode to that art style. You see a lot of these modern console games that are retro style, but they're not, they just don't have that same soul. So I'm super duper. I've got a few that I bought for consoles. I just love this, mate. I really love it when people are doing this. It spurs people back into thinking about what was, because they realize it was really bloody great. So it'll be a physical cart. Is you going to do like a sort of like a pre-order Kickstarter thing, or have you looked that far ahead as to how it becomes a physical thing?
Yeah, I do imagine that I would probably do some sort of Kickstarter or pre-order type situation, just because help me see what the interest level is and how many actual carts I should probably produce.
Yeah.
The number 100 comes to mind. Of course, I'm like, well, I should just do 100 and see if I could
tight.
sell those.
That's tight.
Yeah. And so, but the pre-order will show me, do I need 20 or do I need 300, or we'll see, so. But that's not anytime soon. I have no idea how long it's going to take to make this game. I thought I could do it in a month, and now I'm about 6 months in, and it's still the beginning. But
okay,
I'm making great progress. I've really kind of focused myself, and it's kind of hard to find that time and to find that focus to just sit down and work on it for 6 hours. But
yeah,
almost every night now, that's kind of what I'm doing. I just sit down and I have my to-do list, and I just try to knock at least one thing off, and yeah, it's been going great. So
there's a bit of art here. So the game is called The Mayor of Sanctuary.
Yeah.
So anybody that can have a look at Anthony's Instagram right now, you'll see that. So it's pretty curious looking. Do you want to give us a little bit of a rundown without giving too much away on what the game's actually going to be about?
Yeah, so I wanted to make a Zelda-like adventure where basically I wanted there to be a lot of cool things to discover. I came up with the story of this mayor so Sanctuary is going to be the name of the forest, and the town name is Anzen, which means safety in Japanese. And so basically it's a town that exists in this forest, and it's protected by magic. There's bad magic in the forest, and the town elects wizards and witches as their mayor to protect the town.
Good call.
And so our main character is the recently retired mayor of Anzen. And he's been looking forward to relaxing and enjoying his retirement. And
it's a whole sort of like sort of diehard retired cop type thing.
Yeah. And so he's been at home relaxing, and things have started going wrong. And the new mayor is obviously not doing their job correctly. And so he's basically forced to come out of retirement and come and go see what's going on in town. And so, the story is basically you making your way back to town and seeing what's been going on.
Now, there's an obvious element of animals. If anybody's looking at the art, there's some ears. It sort of looks like cats. Looks to be a couple of bears, and there's a deer and all that sort of business. So, yeah, again, the animal sort of angle really comes through for you. You're the mayor? Is the animals sort of like the rest of the cast mostly, or is there still a pretty heavy kind of other? I've got my fingers in the air. Other human sort of NPCs involved?
Yeah, it's going to be an all human cast, but there's going to be a lot of animals. There's basically as many as I could squeeze into the game.
Yeah, beautiful. Are the animals going to be there to assist you, or are they sort of just part of the scenario?
I think it's going to be mostly just part of the scenery, and I'm going to try to make them interactive where possible. And yeah, we're going to see about that.
Wow, it's very intriguing. The picture alone, just yeah, he's standing there in the creek, and he looks like he's sort of been woken up. And now that you explain that, that's it. That's a couple of like, is it kanji off to the side of the word sanctuary? Is that what is that?
Yeah, so that's the name of the town, Anzen in Japanese.
Oh wow.
I had asked a friend from Japan if there were any great words that I could use that could be the name of a town that sort of represented being safe and being protected. And he had suggested Anzen. And I was like, wow, that sounds so cool. I would love to call my town that. And I was like, that should just be the name of the game.
Mm.
And, of course, first thing I go Google Anzen game, and there one was. So I reached out. Yeah, I reached out. Someone's making a Diablo like game that's called Anzen. And I reached out to them on Twitter and I said, hey, are you guys still working on this game? Because
are you for real?
Yeah, I got something I'm working on, and I'd like to use that name. They're like, yeah, we're still doing it. So, respect to them. They got to the name about 2 years before me, but so the forest is called Sanctuary and the town is called Anzen. But so I focused more on the sanctuary part of it for the title.
So do you said, oh, I thought I could do it in a month. Now it's been 6 months. Life's real, all that sort of stuff. Do you have a bit of Christmas 2022 would be great, or I feel like I've got a bit of a lull in work coming up and I could just smash into it for 3 months over the Christmas period and that'll get me across the line? Or do you have some idea? Because I'm keen and I'm always, you can ask anybody like Craig, the retrogamestore.com, he's the sponsor, when he's like, I think I'm getting some of these screens in, or I'm getting this EverDrive, and I'm like, is it here tomorrow? Will it be here next week? Will it be here the month after? He's like, it'll be here when it gets here. So yeah, how do you feel about the game and where it might land?
Yeah. Well, we don't want to have any cyberpunk situations, but
no, we don't.
But I'm really hoping it'll be done this year. It would be awesome if I could have it by the end of this year. And it's possible. It's just there's so many things, and I am a one-man team. I've really been focusing on the actual gameplay right now and getting my map really perfect, because in the beginning I was spending so much time trying to get the graphics right.
Yeah.
And you could spend days and days and days just researching graphics, not even working on it. So I decided to sort of put the graphics to the side for the time being, because it was kind of stopping my progress. So I'm going to get the game really nice, and then I'm going to really focus on the graphics. And then I also have to make the music myself. I'm going to do the music too. So it's a lot of little stuff, but I'm really hoping this year. It'd be awesome if I could have it this year.
So you'd use something like LSDJ or something to kind of create the music, or what will you use to make the music for it?
I forget the name of the actual program I have, but it's all MIDI based music. It's chiptune stuff. Yeah. So I've made music most of my life. I was a guitarist and drummer back in high school and junior high, and so I've made electronic music in the past, and I feel comfortable making music. So it's just another one of my skills that I gotta put to use to make this thing happen. So,
oh man, you're the whole package. Like you're almost born for this. A lot of the sort of skills you already use and you've got going in your everyday career, like it's all sort of coming together. And I guess you just got that lifestyle where you can just chip away at it, and there's no rush. This is like the irony is that if that day when you had a chat with those people at that college or whatever it was you're talking about, if you went off and made games, you could have been one of those underpaid 65-hour-a-week bloody slave labor type programmers knocking stuff out for EA or Rockstar or something and just hating it, So it's good that you've made your own choices and Destiny's just taking you on this track. So so obviously it's a Game Boy game now. We haven't really talked about much, but you do have a lot to do with Game Boys. Since then, only that, a few years ago, as you said, but there's a lot going on. Like I see tables of Game Boys. I'm looking at your Instagram right now. I see like a bunch of looks like some battery work on cartridges and just a whole bunch of stuff. I love the one here of the pizza with the turtles in the middle of it, that sort of stuff. So, like you said, you surround yourself with things that make you happy. What's obviously being a Nomad, a Game Boy, you can keep 2 or 3 on you. You can't carry like a Mega Drive, a SNES, and a Neo Geo while you're a Nomad. So that's obviously a positive. But apart from that, what else really grabs you about the Game Boy?
It's just that magical feeling of playing those original games on the original hardware. It's so fun. And the Game Boys themselves are not that complicated in terms of electronic pieces. And
Yeah,
I had no experience doing any electronic stuff or soldering or anything like that in the past. So it all just basically started from that first Game Boy Color that I had purchased in Osaka. I had just said, well, wouldn't it be cool if I changed this and I did that? And you just end up going down that rabbit hole.
yeah.
Before I even bought my first Game Boy last year, I was already following a few Game Boy accounts on my personal Instagram. I was following 8-Bit Aesthetics, and there's a guy, Ginger of Mods, who makes some crazy like Wii inside of like a Game Boy Color and Game Changer mods. I was following these accounts on my personal account.
Yeah.
And so once Naramakesgames became a reality, and I sort of made that account and said, all right, I'm going to be a video game maker for real. It sort of accidentally also became a Game Boy account. And that, yeah. And so, I sort of became a part of that community as a fan. And, once I got back to Thailand, which was in this past December, I was able to start buying more Game Boys, and I was able to actually order the parts to myself and to buy the tools I needed to do stuff like this. And so I've only been working on Game Boys since December, but yeah, like you said, there's a lot of them. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 sitting here right now.
Yeah.
I've probably had about 30 Game Boys come through my hands in the past 6 months. And,
good stuff.
Yeah, it's just fun.
Yeah, as an amateur photographer, like I've sort of dabbled in a few different hobbies, like RC trucks, rock crawlers, and sort of gunpla and stuff like that. And I love just getting my phone, like Android phone, and just playing with some lights and some vignette. The Game Boy is a bizarrely photogenic object, isn't it? It has,
Oh yeah,
you can totally throw all your knowledge at me as a photographer, but it's got this kind of thing where you can put it somewhere and it stands out. You can tell this is what I'm looking at, but you can also put it somewhere, the same Game Boy, and it just sort of blends into whatever environment you put it into. You put them up in a branch of a tree. There's things you put in the branch of a tree, and you're like, you don't put that there. But yeah, it blows me away what people can do with them, and it's just this magical little creature.
Yeah, and you could pick a different Game Boy based on your mood.
Yeah.
and create a totally different scene for a photo if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing. Like you said before, the simplicity of them. I've done a couple of mods. I've collected a lot, and I've done a couple of mods. I picked up this. My wife and I play a lot of Tetris on the Wii, and the other day I pulled out a couple of DMGs and we played the original Tetris with a link cable, and she's like, "This is pretty cool." So when we kind of go down to my parents-in-laws and stuff, so I've got a nice silver pocket with a Q5 OSD screen. I picked up this kind of $90 black one in half decent shape. This afternoon, in like an hour, I did the Q5 mod to it, and I was like, it actually worked. There's a little bit. Yeah. I sold it for work and stuff. It's just always that feeling of when you put your $90 into something and a screen and you want to get it straight. But they're just such a simple little critter that you can have so much success with them. It blows me away how much fun they can really be. What's the is there like Game Boys all over Thailand? Are you walking into shops and there's like there can't be too many people kind of over there. Like every other country, we're all kind of stripping the trees bare of ripe fruit.
The situation for boys here has been kind of the same as what I've been hearing everywhere else. You could find a lot of them 6 months ago, and then in March, just everything started to dry up. I could buy a Game Boy Color or Pocket for about $20 US, sometimes less, in February. And so I did. I started buying all the ones I could find on Facebook and on Shopee, and then they just dried up. So now I can still get a color for about $30 US here.
Geez, that's pretty good.
But pockets are hard to find here now. I think I bought every one of them that was in town. And so you can find pockets for $45 to $60 US now.
Yeah, it's about on par with here too. So that 90 to 110, depending on kind of, quality and how beat up they are.
Yeah, I just bought one for $45. It was a red pocket that had already had the old school backlight installed on it.
Oh, okay.
And so I had swapped that over into this white shell that I had that I had used previously, and I'm going to use that red shell on something else soon.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Hey, that's pretty cool. Do you, amongst your sort of the work and the game making, do you play much?
Yeah, I try to. It's kind of like the Netflix thing. You got so many options. It's hard to know which one to play.
Yeah.
A lot of times I carry a Game Boy more because I'm thinking about what photo do I want to take of it, because they're just so beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
But, I've got the Easy Flash in there with, 1,000 games on it.
Yeah.
And I've also got my retro handheld that has, 5,000 games on it. So sometimes it's hard to decide a game to actually play, but I do play my Game Boys. Most nights I will pick up my retro handheld and play for a little bit. We have 2 Nintendo Switches here, and we have a PS4 here. So
okay, yeah, it is.
There's always something.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts about retro gaming, and I might listen to this if I wasn't me now, and I would hear about a game, and I'd be like, I listen to like Retronauts, Jeremy Parish and people like that, and they just know so much, and they give you so much information about a game. And it's always when I hear about the making of the game and who is involved and how hard someone fought to make it a reality, and then I'll just pick it up and just play it for an hour. I think this concept of sitting down and finishing a game, for me, I'm not 12 years old and this is the only game I got for Christmas and I'm just going to crush it, or I'm kind of shy, I'm in high school and I have a Pokemon game and that's just all I do every lunchtime. As a grown adult with wives and children and jobs, it is really hard to just finish a game. But I encourage everybody to just, if you get a game, I got a bunch of cards here I picked up with them, like Little Mermaid, Blind King. I don't know, like it's possibly an absolutely terrible game, but I'll throw it in for 15 minutes and then I can make an educated decision on whether it's a great game or not. I think it's important. And for yourself, it's probably important that you do that because it's kind of research, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was one of the fun things is playing video games now became part of work.
Yeah. Before we started recording, we were talking about your other. So you've got 2 Instagram accounts. One is one is Naramakesgames. That's very Game Boy heavy, and another one, Anthony Wallace, and that's very much more about your photography. And we commented on how many dogs you've taken photos of, and I mean, when we were in Thailand, it blew us away, the variety and just the personality, because over here everybody's got like a Labrador or a poodle or something, and you're like, man, I've seen 60 of them in the last 3 blocks. And you're sort of talking about your affinity to animals. Do you want to tell us a bit more about why you have so many photos of random old kind of mangy looking dogs?
Well, just living in Asia, I walk a lot. I can walk anywhere from 5 to 10 miles a day.
Yeah.
And most of that is just sightseeing. And I want to go see if I can find something I hadn't seen before. And here in Asia, a lot of times you're going to run into dogs. And so you walk the streets every day and you start to see the same dogs, and it's fun for me to try to become friends with as many of them as I can.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's similar to the deer thing in Nara. They don't trust you right away. It takes time to earn that trust and to get that familiarity so that they know who you are and they want to come up and say hi. I got to a point where in Nara, I had 20 deer who knew who I was. And when they saw me coming, they would come up and say hi, and they would follow me literally for miles just to hang out with me.
Yeah.
And that was such a cool experience. And so doing the same thing with street dogs who, some of them are going to love you instantly, and some of them, it's going to take months of you coming by and saying hi to them and giving them food for them to be like, all right, I finally see that this guy is cool.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of fun for me, when we driving, I say, oh, I know that dog, or, oh, I know a cat that lives there. And
yeah.
People laugh at me, but that's one of my favorite things to do is just meet every animal I can.
Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. When we were there, like I said, in March last year, and so we're still around the coast of Maria, a little bit further around. I can't remember the name. There's a big ferry that comes in and out. And so I was getting up, doing a lot of walking in the morning, a couple of hours walking, and sort of walking into town. There'd be lots of old dogs just sort of looking at you. So I don't know who you are. You best take a wide berth kind of thing, And then there was like these two dogs that were hanging around the back of the hotel every afternoon. Must have been the cook would throw a bunch of scraps out or something. And these two dudes, they come wandering out of the bush from wherever they lived, and they just sort of like hang around. And they're like, like two teenagers sort of stand there going, "Don't look sus, dude. Don't look sus. Just stand here. It's cool." And then they bugger off and stuff. And then there was another time the taxi driver did a detour around some traffic, which was just bonkers, but it was like just that coastal road. And we went way, like about 20 blocks inland and through in between these, which were no longer roads, they were just dirt tracks and stuff. And it was like driving in the middle of some like a 12-year-old had built this like imaginary farm out of farm toys. It was just cows and pigs and chickens and dogs. It was just right behind the facade of the streets, and the amount of animals was bonkers. So I totally appreciate you can just walk around and just meet so many amazing animals.
Yeah, and so that cat that you guys have seen on my Naramakesgames account, we found that cat a couple weeks ago. We pulled into our parking garage here at our condo, and I saw a little cat run by, and that's kind of unusual. We're on the second floor, and I said, "Hey, I just saw a cat. Let me go check out what's going on." And it was hiding under a car crying, and I eventually was able to grab it, and you could tell it had been running around for a long time and had no idea where it was. And so, being the guy I am, I said, all right, well, I guess I'm going to take care of this. So I'm actually allergic to cats.
It's a pretty brave move.
Yeah, but we got a cat now. So
congratulations.
Yeah.
So what's the plan then? Like, are you living in? I mean, obviously the world still is a little bit. It's still a bit rough to move around. Are you living in Thailand? I feel like you probably don't want to go back to California or Colorado, like the US in general. I think you're pretty happy to be out of there. Are you living in Thailand now because you choose to be, or are you kind of like you're there? Would you prefer to go back to Japan, like your nomadic game programming lifestyle? Like, what's the go?
So I was very happy to be moving on a very regular basis and living in a new country every 30 days.
Wow.
Before COVID came.
Yeah.
And then, that whole lifestyle was put to a stop, and, we had no choice as nomads. There was nowhere we could go.
Yeah.
And so all I wanted to do was get back to Thailand. And, I have a girlfriend here who I've been, loosely dating for 2.5 years. As a nomad, she was very happy to let me do my own thing and go travel the world. And we would meet in a lot of countries. She met me in Japan while I was living there. She was able to come in March before everything was shut down. And all I wanted was to get back to Thailand. And so, during those 11 months in Japan where I was lockdown, we were talking a lot. We would call each other, we would do video chats almost every day. And so we developed our relationship a lot just over the phone. And we have a lot of similar life goals. And so we are actually building a house here in Thailand.
Oh, wow.
And I'm basically making the permanent move to Thailand if I can. Like you said, no interest in going back to the United States ever. And once it's available to us, I would like to do some more traveling. There are a lot of places I still would love to go, and we've had that conversation. She said, "Yeah, if you're able to, you go do what you want to do." So. I'd love to go back to Malaysia. I've never been to Philippines. There's a few places I would love to see again, but it's just not available to us right now. So for now and probably forever, Thailand is home.
That's pretty cool, huh? Like you seem happier with that, even though you'd rather be traveling. It's nice to know that you feel I can have a home.
Yeah, it's a great place to be. I'm very happy in Thailand.
And I guess wherever there's kind of like decent enough, upload speeds, you can kind of do your job. Like, is everything sort of pretty cool there?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of internet access, I've almost never had problems anywhere I've been. I guess the worst has been China. There's some limitations there, but
just because it's sort of locked down, and maybe a VPN, and hope it doesn't sort of, stir any trouble up or whatever.
Yeah, when I lived in China for a few weeks, I actually couldn't even get my phone to work for the first couple of weeks. So I was kind of cut off from things a lot. But
wow.
Yeah, internet in most of Southeast Asia is great. There's no problems. Same as anywhere else.
Cools. Right. Yeah, I guess you don't really. Maybe you can start collecting a bit more now then, since you're not going to be kind of, no solid address for 30 days would have been a bit of a challenge. But I imagine that over the last few years, you've developed that sense of, nothing's permanent. And do you find yourself maybe collecting a bit more?
Yeah, once you make that decision to live out of a suitcase, to know that everything you can fit in that one suitcase is all you're going to have.
Yeah.
And so when I did decide to make that jump, I took a Nintendo Switch with me because it fit great into my backpack.
Yeah.
That was the only gaming hardware I had for a few years. But like you said, now that I'm sort of at a stable location, I have seen my list of possessions grow to something that I didn't think I would ever have again. And, I've got about 10 Game Boys here in the apartment right now. And so
it's impossible to avoid. It really is. Once you get one or two and you just see stuff, they're like little gems, little jewels. You're like, oh, my precious, I'll have that one.
Yeah.
I'll have that one. So cool. Well, I'm super excited about your game. Whatever your plans are to take money for however it works, I'll send you kittens if you need more kittens or whatever. I'm super keen. I love it when a story comes from somewhere. I mean, a lot of the games I've played, obviously there was people working hard, but when I think about the story that you're going to tell in this little game, it's no doubt is going to be because it's just you. It's not a team of writers. It's not a company sort of saying, you know what, we can only put X amount of hours into this. It's got to be financially viable, blah, 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 blah. So it's really just a little kind of like more so an interactive kind of story that, we can all kind of be part of, as opposed to a game that's put out and they want to, it needs to be A-list and all that sort of stuff. So I really am super pumped to see that to come to fruition.
Yeah, and I really appreciate all the support. That I had been saving that post for when I felt it was the right time. And, I knew that you and I were going to be talking this week, and I just thought I need to put this out there and let people know what I've been working on. And because, I have a YouTube channel too, and I've talked about my game, and it's been a lot of promises of it's coming. I'm going to show you guys some stuff soon. And so I felt it was time to finally show something and to be like, hey, this is my promise. I'm really working on this, and this is really coming. So,
well, it sounds like it's really got some meat on the bones. You know, once you've got cover art, you know what the rule is. You can't change your mind. That's the rule.
yeah.
so here we go. Christmas. I can't wait to pull that one out from underneath my tree.
I'm committed.
Yeah. As long as you're enjoying it. Yeah. Look, each episode I like to kind of sort of kick the can for someone that I just stalk around Instagram, and I just sort of see things I like and things I'm either jealous of, or just inspirational people, collectors, modders, whatever. I'll give you an opportunity if you can come up with a couple of people yourself, and it could just be hugs to friends that have kept you sort of I guess company while you've sort of been nomading around. This episode is a couple. The first one is Jackrabbit Gamer. I'll put this in the show notes, Tara. A really kind of, sometimes collecting can be such a daunting looking experience. I have a lot of flash carts, so I don't own a lot of actual cartridges. But when I see someone that just goes all in and just has a serious collection of a whole bunch of stuff, I first noticed Tara on a post that came up through a hashtag where she'd bought like an entire N64 cartridge collection off a lady.
Wow.
She'd been through a marriage breakup, and she's just like, how much for the lot? And boom, just took all these cartridges home. Like that's the shortcut. It was a bunch of money, but that's the shortcut. So, but Tara's got a whole bunch of really cool stuff there. It's good to see what people do when they just commit themselves to it. So go check out Tara's stuff. One more I'm going to mention is, and we all love her. We all know her, Nat the Nerd. I thought I'd sort of try and make the big time, and Nat knocked up one of these. I'll show it to you. Other people have seen it too. So here it comes. Is up. Hang on a sec. Where is that? Oh, this is terrible, isn't it? Here we go. There.
I was gonna ask you about it actually.
There you go. So that's the physical card, the Pixel Pie podcast, and then it seems to be it's like having your name on lights in Broadway. Once you've got one of these logo carts.
Oh yeah, I've made a few myself.
And I was just like, hey, Nat, do you reckon you can do this? And she's like, I might be able to do a bit of blah, blah, blah. And like half an hour later, she's like, what do you reckon? I'm like, oh, dude, crushed it. So really happy to have that. So, and she sent me a bunch of little bits and pieces and stuff. She also sent me one of her little, the Game Boy Color button lighting gizmos that she's been knocking out. And I'll get that in somewhere. So that's just great. She's just great, busy going mad with her solder iron and stuff like that. So that's for me this week. That's who I'd like other people to, take the hat off to. What about yourself? Who kind of inspires you, or do you think is just doing great stuff, or you just want to give a big sloppy kiss to?
Well, just to follow up what you were saying, Natalie the Nerd, I can't say enough about that girl. I'd say she is the number one person in the Game Boy community. She is so supportive, and I owe a lot to her with my own Game Boy modding. And, she's always been happy to answer questions, and I can't imagine what her inbox looks like. And
I just feel privileged to have a reply to me.
Oh yeah. She's always been so cool to me and so helpful. And I really owe a lot to her with my own Game Boy modding stuff, and just being a cool friend and being one of those welcoming, friendly members of the community. Also Pixel Fix, she's been super awesome. She's been a big inspiration of mine with a lot of my pocket stuff, and she's the Pixel Queen, and all hail the Queen. She's awesome too. A lot of great conversations with her as well.
She's the pocket queen, that's for shizzle. Her and I have that in common. Yeah. I just going back to Nat, I don't want to draw away, but I remember when I first met Nat and I spoke to her, and she's like, oh, I know this guy. He's like living in Thailand, doing some stuff. She's like living like a nomadic type life. And I wasn't until just the other day, I was like, she was talking about Anthony. The penny dropped.
Yeah.
So Pixel Fix. I mean, again, everybody go over and check out that Insta, because she does some really, and I think before when I was talking about the photography and how you can put a Game Boy, it can be obscured by its surroundings, or it can be the star of that shot. and she does that, and I think a lot of people are subconsciously sort of chasing her style a bit, and that's
Oh yeah.
that's flattery right there.
But I think in this Game Boy community, everyone has been really cool, really friendly, really welcoming.
Yeah.
And, you're always going to have good experiences and bad experiences with any community, but I think it's important to point out the ones who are really cool and really contribute to the positive side of that community.
Yeah.
There's a handful of people that I've had really great conversations with. David from Nintendo DIY.
Yeah. Good egg.
Yeah, Mike from Me and the Boys 91. There's a guy, Paul, from his Instagram name is Mutatio in Figura. It's a Latin for change in shape. Really cool guy. Zach from Pixel Juice and Trey from TL Hand Modding. These are all some of my guys that I talk to on a regular basis, and we just either talk about Game Boys or talk about whatever. Just cool dudes.
Yeah. The more I chat to, like each time I chat to one of you guys, I see this. It's like a piece of the puzzle or the map of sort of community and support sort of goes bing. It's like I unlock a new level, and I see this line to here, and I start to see the same names. They've just been there, and it's interesting because you might say, oh, this dude or this chick's been really great. It's been a tough couple of years or whatever, and then I'll talk to someone else and they'll be like, oh man, Anthony's just been the best. And it's just super mutual, and that's the most important thing. And that was my whole goal with this, was to just kind of show people that we're really human. I think some people appreciate it, that you can hear the voice of someone that's just sort of been that 226 characters at a time kind of thing back at you. So it's really nice.
Yeah. It's not that big of a community, so we all do kind of know each other, and we all do kind of see each other's stuff, and we all follow each other. So I know that you like to point out new people to the community and try to maybe bring attention to people who maybe we don't all know. And the person that came to mind for me was, there's an account called Condition Okay. It's a new account, and he's got some really awesome photography, and he just started this month. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got going on.
I'll check them out. I might have to get you to spell a few of those things for me later. Me and the Boys and Mutatio. I can't remember the last bit, but we'll work it out.
Yeah, I'll send you all those.
Yeah, no worries. All right. Well, I really do appreciate your time. I know everybody has wanted to hear more about the game and more about you, and just about this crazy nomad living in the jungles of Thailand, and living with all the beasts of the forest and all that sort of stuff. And I appreciate that. It's not going to come in a hurry because you're not rushing it. But I will say, come on, I want it.
Oh yeah.
And I wish you Godspeed with getting it all sorted. And your whole concept of worrying about the graphics later is probably so key to just, because I don't know what the deal is, but you may have restrictions on what you can. They talk about like when he created Mario, and he's got a mustache because that we only had a few pixels left, so we just gave him a mustache. We couldn't give him a whole mouth, so it's probably super wise in that aspect. Is there kind of anything else you want to kind of highlight? Any friends, organizations, or anything that you're up to that you think could really do with a good plug, and any other information, any other news details? This is your kind of couple of minutes to just let it all out.
No, just I'm just working, man. I'm just trying to get this game one step at a time. I do sell Game Boys for people who ask. That definitely helps my progress, because it helps me not have to do the real work. I still do have a full-time job doing graphic design and web design. So I'm working on these things between all that. So, if you want to go to my link tree and do buy me a coffee, or if you want to buy a Game Boy, definitely reach out. But that's about it. I'm just really trying to make progress on this game between hanging out with dogs and eating pizza and
living the dream, my friend. Living the dream.
Oh yeah.
All right, Anthony. I really appreciate you taking the time. It's it's your Friday afternoon there, so you're probably going to be getting ready to chill, and I don't know, whatever you might do on a Friday night in Chiang Mai. Could be exciting. And like I said, yeah, just whenever you have any updates on the games or whatever, just shoot me a DM, and even if we get you on for a few minutes as a little preamble to something else, like, hey guys, this is going to happen, because I'll back you all the way. It's a wonderful thing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problems. All right, bub, we're going to leave it there. I hope everybody's enjoyed meeting Anthony, and do all the subscribing and liking, and do all the chasing of these people, these other wonderful people that we've spoken about. And we will catch you on the next episode. Thanks, Anthony, mate.
All right. Thank you.